So I hope we got that out of the way. I'll be doing things this way. So now the issue here is we have to call this move from outside because we want to this on-click listener to be able to access this move function. So how do we do that? Now the advantage is that window is an object. So window is an object in JavaScript. It describes the window itself, just like document. Now, because these are objects, everything is an object in JavaScript, it means I can attach a variable to it. So I can do something like here, instead of doing it this way, I can say window.move is equal to function, like this. Okay, so window.move is equal to function. Now, any item inside window can be called without putting window at the beginning like that. You can just say move and it will look inside window because window is the global, and then it will find move and then it will run it. So I can now call this one and say move like this. In fact, since we're already calling it here, let's just give it a test run. I will refresh and click here. You see that I'm still getting what I'm supposed to get. If I had not done this, if I had just saying var, oh, sorry there. If I had just said variable move is equal to function like this and try to access it, I will get an error. Move is not defined. So as you can see, if you want your function to be hidden, you declare it this way. But if you want to be able to access it outside, you declare it this way, window dot whatever it is. So like this, you get to choose which functions are visible outside the scope and which ones remain internal. Okay, goody goody. I hope that is clear. All right, so moving on here, let's do some cool stuff. And let's put an if statement here with a direction. So I'm going to say if, so it's going to be if direction is equal to left, we do one thing, and if it's equal to right, we do something else. So let's declare some variables at the top here. Now remember that these variables are also inside this, so their scope is limited to inside this function, which is another good thing, because it's very possible in another project you can have exactly the same variables and you can avoid collisions like this. So I will create one variable called current position. That's short for current position. We'll start at 0. Okay, so now this current position will represent the position of these images. So we'll start with 0, and depending on, we have 4 images, so the maximum will be 4. And then let's declare another variable called width here, and we're going to say it's 400. So this is the width of one image here, and that's because we set it to that, so that's why I am setting it to that. And so now what I want is, if the direction is left, which means this one, I want to add to current position. So let's come back here and just say current position plus equals 1. Actually, yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, so in JavaScript, because if you just have one line after an if statement, you don't need to put the, oh, I didn't need to put that. You don't need to put these curly brackets like that, but you can put them if you want. So let's copy this, but only if it's one line. If you put a second line here, then you have to put those brackets. So left, and then let's do right. Oh, sorry, my bad. Left and then right. Oh, why do I keep doing that? Right, then let's subtract. Okay, now let's create a formula here for our translation. So now we know that a width of one image is 400 pixels, right? And we know the position of the first one is 1. So what do we do to get to a 0 to tell it not to translate on number 1, but it should translate to 400 on number 2? So here's a little formula that you can use. Translate is equal to, let's see, current position minus 1, and then let's multiply that by the width. So let's imagine now the current position is 0. Actually, we don't need this minus 1 anymore. That would be needed if this started at 1, but no, it doesn't. So translate current position times width. I think that does it, because at number 0, when we multiply that by 400, that's a 0, and then when it's 1, it's 1 times 400. Okay, so it seems to be working. And then what I will do now is just grab these slider images, and then once I grab it, I can shift it a little bit. So I'll say variable slider images is equal to document. So document is this one here we are getting, because we are supplying it there. So document dot query selector. So I like query selector because it's very versatile. You can get IDs, classes, and all kinds of things, even tag names with this one. So it works better than get element by ID, which is very specific to IDs. So query selector, and what we want to get is slider images. And since it's a class, inside the inverted commas, we use a dot like that. Okay. So query selector, and we get the slider images. I think just to be more specific, I'll call it the container, because it's the one that contains the images themselves, this one here. Okay, so the image container, and let's transform it. So I will copy this, and then I will say dot style dot transform is equal to. So we are equaling it to a translate that we had done here. So this is exactly what we are trying to achieve. So I'll cut this, remove that, and I will come here and I will paste them. Translate to that, but because this is going to be a let me remove that. This is going to be a variable, so let's get out of there, put those two pluses like that, and let's put, wait a minute, we put translate, there we go. Now, by the way, there's a different way to put variables inside JavaScript. If you are interested in that, I will show you in a moment. Let me refresh. So we are back to 0, and if I click there, oops, it's not happening. Okay, so we will see why that isn't working. So translate X, and then do the translation there. Okay, so let's see why this isn't working. So let's paste the translation into the console. Console.log translate like that. Let's refresh and let's click. So as you can see, the numbers keep changing here, which is a good sign. So our code is working fine. It's just the translation isn't translating. And this is due to a very simple reason that we forgot to put our pixels, because now it doesn't know what units to use. So let's refresh and let's click away. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so the problem we're having now is that we get to go overboard here, but let's come back here and you'll see that, and we get overboard this other way. So let's see what's happening here. So if I click here, I go and go to this one. So once I reach 1200 and I click one more time, then that's a problem. So 1200 divided by 400 is 3. So the maximum should be number 3. Okay. So what we do now is we just put an if statement here. So let's try this if statement here. More if statements. So I'm going to say if the current position right here, if the current position is greater than let's see, greater than 3. Okay, if it's greater than 3, then set it back to 0, like so. Okay, so let's see if that works. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Okay, so it's not working this way, but maybe this way. Cool. Okay, so it's not working that way either. So current position greater than 0. Okay, so what I want us to do is instead, let's look at the current position here. We'll paste that there in the console. So here, as you can see, it's going to the negatives. So it's going the negative direction. Okay. So what I can do instead is, wait a minute, let me see at what negative number. So number 3 is the maximum. So go this way, and then here as well. Here actually, that's 1, that's 2. Here 0 is the maximum. So what we will do is, if it is greater than 0, set it to -3, and if it is less than, so if it's greater than 0, if it's less than -3, then set it to 0. Let's see how that works. Move, 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 move. And as you can see, we keep going back and forth. Very good. Go, 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 go. So there's no end in sight. It just keeps cycling, which is very, very nice. Okay, so we have what we want here working fine, but I hear a but, you say. I want to see some transitioning going on here because this is just too sudden. But fear not, because transitioning is very, very simple. So we just go to the same slider images. As it moves, we're just going to put a transition and just say transition, like that, transition, and we tell it what we want to transition, and this is the transform, but just put all there if you're lazy like me, and let's put 1 second. That's how long it will take. And you can actually put some effects here like easy ease. I'll just put an ease there. Let's actually see how it looks like without an ease. So it's not necessary, you can just do all 1 second. You can also put 0.5 here if you want to speed it up a bit. So let's do that. And as you can see, and then it goes back, boom. Very nice, isn't it? So you can put 0.5 if you want, and then also, like I said, you can put some effects. There's cubic Bezier, there's ease in, ease out, and so on, like that. Looks much smoother. Okay, so we've got that out of the way. That's the transitioning. So what we need now is some thumbnails here to see what's going on up here, so that we can click directly on these thumbnails to change the image directly instead of just sliding like this. So let's do that.